If You're Not First, You're Last by Grant Cardone. Welcome to my channel. My name is Samuel and I want to make self-growth normal. If you want to make self-growth normal, because I don't want to do it alone, and I've never met someone who doesn't want to make self-growth normal, then make sure to smash that like button. Grant Cardone is known for his hot-headed, big think personality. He has a hungry, rabid, money-conscious fan base. His haters have called him arrogant, and I can see where they're coming from. But I'm gonna throw out a disclaimer here. If anyone watches this review and thinks that I'm biased, I definitely am, because I know that if you know my content, then you know I've listened to the 10x rule and Sell or Be Sold each at least 15 times. You know he's a hero of mine, and I'm really only saying that because I think all of us should have heroes. Heroes. A handful of people whose personalities you aim to inject certain aspects of into your own in order to reshape the way you approach every day into something larger, something greater, and more like what you want it to be. I mean, everyone you look up to for a reason. Hopefully I have some negative things to say about this book. I mean, I know he's not perfect. He's a very contrarian thinker. Even in the established fields, he thoroughly understands like business and sales and real estate. And smashing that like button in case you haven't already. If someone doesn't like the price, consider showing them something more expensive. Just for fun. The only reason people are on mental health prescriptions is because they don't stay busy enough. Success is not a journey or a destination. It's a mental state. It's like he's looking for this strange logic that when you hear him out, you're like, well, he's not really wrong. And I wonder what will get closed minds to open up to viewpoints like this. Even in this book, check this out. A recession is a drop, a reduction in the... That horny goat weed tastes very strange. I started taking it recently. I'm not going to say why. Global domestic product of a country over 2 quarters. 2 90-day periods of time. Over 180 days. Individuals and companies cannot actually experience a recession since they don't have gross domestic product. Strange logic. But is he wrong? I don't really think he is. People experience effects of recessions. We don't experience recessions ourselves. And he's not talking about stuff like this to make it seem like we are victims of our own circumstances. It's really to say that we are not what happens to us. When you take in your past experiences, I think that you and I can both agree that this applies to way more than just our economic fates. He talks about where we are today in the economy, or at least at the time this book was written. He says that we have 42 million people on food stamps in America. That's over 10% of us. And then 16 to 25 million, that's a big range, people are unemployed or underemployed. The middle class is at risk because we are not first. And I'm not saying that we deserve to be first. I'm saying that we need to earn the spot of first. He also talks about what first really means. I don't think he's really said this before, but there's something that out of a lot of his content has given me this sense of security. Like, true security is within. It's from the inside out. And if that's not contrary enough to popular belief, it's a choice. In the last few years, a lot of people have told me stuff like, you're gonna be fine, or you're not gonna be fine. Isn't whether you're gonna be fine or not while doing what you're doing ultimately up to you? The chapter is about reactivating this gold mine Grant likes to call your power base. It's crazy. Like, it really is crazy. They're very concrete. There's nothing soft about his advice here. And by the way, it's almost humorous to me, despite how direct the instructions were, how specific he was about what not to do. Don't bring up how long it was since your last contact with them. Don't bring up any bad news. Don't say you're updating your power base. That's a mistake I probably would make. Do not make this a sales call, but do not forget that you are selling. In January, I made the mistake of telling people that I had just gotten my wisdom teeth removed. No one wants to think of the negative feelings that they associate with the pain of getting their wisdom teeth removed when they're just about to sign up for something from a guy whose name they just learned about, then probably will forget in less than 10 minutes from now. I don't think he's very intelligent. I don't think he's very organized. I don't think he's all that detail oriented. And I really don't think he thinks that either. I think he's said some version of all three of those things about himself in interviews before. But I love the way he looks at and thinks about things like follow-up and rejection and persistence and work ethic and scaling and exceeding targets and lack of confidence. And if I can handle any of those, it's not natural. It's because I've adopted ways of thinking kind of like his. Again, like I said earlier, this whole thing of picking apart people who think and act in ways that you don't but would like to. I think he's a phenomenal role model in sales, business, and I don't want this review to just be me hyping up Uncle GC, as we call him. And the book, for anyone who's watched this far, I'm gonna say this is not like all his other books. There is this classic, I like to think I invented this word, Cardonian construction of urgency that he's clearly mastered over the years. It's one crucial element of what alone makes his words so moving. But I think this book is more technical. It's much more for business owners than his other ones. It's more operational. Like 10x rule, I'd say, is for just people. Sell or be sold without a question is for salespeople. This is for business owners. The whole chapter about pricing is like none I've ever heard. I have heard him talk about price before, but not like this. The chapter about using a second sale to boost profits, like, you know, the second money is easier than the first money, it makes sense, but I have heard him talk about that before. That is something that successful companies have been doing for decades now. It's an extremely common concept or procedure, but the way he does explain it in a social manner makes a lot of sense in ways that I have not heard before as well. He didn't use this word at all, but this book is a lot more apocalyptic. So I think it's more of a survivalist type of book. The Advance and Conquer Attitude chapter is like a tilt-a-whirl, where he tells us about victim culture, a lot about mental treatment. There's actually some studies he mentions putting a no negativity sign up on the wall. I still have to do this in my office. The differences between books like this and the typical business improvements books are like the difference between Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss and Getting to Yes by Roger Fisher and William Ury. They're both, I mean, like, those are about negotiating, but one of them is far more drastic. It's written from a wealth of experience that has come from far more drastic circumstances. And in a good market, people will say that it's unnecessary to treat the market as if it's a bad market in order to survive. But even during a bad market, he's approaching this in a way that no one else would. Because when it is necessary, no one else is going to be ready. Because no one will have practiced the necessary skill of those measures for those times. One negative review stood out, one which didn't say anything about how much self-advertising was in the book, an amount I honestly didn't really expect from Grant, despite how much he talks about its importance. An amount I would have reduced if I were him, just because it deviates from his norm. The bragging, the horn tooting is no big deal to me. I mean, especially now, he has a $2 billion almost real estate portfolio under his belt. But the review states that he's not rational and that his advice will lead you to a path of success via, what is it, aggression, relentlessness, single-mindedness. What I like to think about Grant is that on a micro level, his material is not for everybody. It's really a calibration tool. It's like an equalizer for people who think too much, or have anxiety, or depression, or they're recovering from an addiction. They have a negative mind and they don't like it and they want to move it to that other side of the spectrum. However, on a macro level, he does use countless examples in all of his books I listen to of people who would be what many of us consider to be successful, but wouldn't normally question the thinking of and reasoning behind the success of. Obama, Trump, Warren Buffett, Steve Jobs, Columbus, the Wright brothers, Henry Ford, Howard Schultz, Oprah Winfrey, companies, Walmart, Amazon, Google, aggression, single-mindedness, and relentlessness are crucial for the type of success that these people create. Elon Musk is like, we're gonna go to Mars, we don't even know what's there. Marconi, the inventor of the radio, told his friends about his discovery that he can transmit seemingly invisible waves of information from one place to another, and then they admitted him against his own will into an insane asylum. You don't think that's a little irrational? How many of the things that we have today that we seem to totally take for granted did not come out of someone doing something at some point that a lot of other people thought was irrational? Many may argue, and this is where a lot of people, like, this is where it makes it like a question whether Grant's philosophies are even, like, if there's even a point to them. Many people will argue that success like this is not necessary. But one, I really don't think as many people are treating it like it's unnecessary in our day and age than it was in previous ones. And two, if you are stuck in a shell of such little think that you begin to realize you're not ultimately happy with yourself. His material is wonderful for opening your mind up to the opportunities of life, the possibilities, and I feel like a lot of people are, but I don't know whether they realize it or not. This isn't a religious or a political or educational problem, I don't think. I think it's a personal, almost individualistic problem. Like freedom and security? Don't worry about America, that's all within you. If that weren't true, I don't think the most amazing feats in history would be a thing. Like, we can focus on each other and ourselves. But if the focus is not positive and consistently moving forward, or aiming to at the very least on both ends, not just one of them, how is it not being put to waste? If you don't change with the times, you'll be left behind. Don't judge the results of the contact as good or bad, because we're not doing one of these, we're doing hundreds of these. Society isn't built for dreamers, it's built for robots. Yesterday's wins will not fill the sails of today. Quit talking about what you won't do, let's talk about what you can do. All I need to know from the news, I can get from the weather report. Direction 1. I recommend this book for anyone who is slacking. The last month or so, I have found myself slacking for reasons I think that are too pathetic to talk about right now in this video. And I think this book opened me up to that. Enough for me to do something about it. Anyone who used to do something and they were on top of the world and they got hit, or they hit themselves with this strange avalanche of responsibility, which they're more than happy with, but it feels like something is missing and they want to get their lives a little bit back in order. Direction 2. If you like this book and you have not checked out the 10x rule or Sell or Be Sold, check those out. Otherwise, the first book that comes to mind for some reason is Blue Ocean Strategy. A little technical, or actually kind of a lot more technical compared to this one. I think it was the section about pricing, but actually more so the section on the wow factor. If You're Not First, You're Last by Grant Cardone. There's a link in the description if you guys want to check it out and read the reviews. That and all the other books that I mentioned in this video, if you want to check those out as well. If there are any other books that you guys want me to check out and review, please let me know in the comments below. Also, let me know if you checked out this book and you liked it. But hey, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, because I don't get why people watch this far into my videos and they don't subscribe, but if you have subscribed and you want to turn up just a notch, then turn on that notification bell to receive a notification every time I drop a new video. That would mean the world to me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. You can find me everywhere, and I will see you then.